Okay, so in the previous class, we have gone through like how we are going to get this ingots through which we will be obtaining a wafer. So once we have got the ingots, we will be now processing the wafers. So preparing a wafer, we will see like what are the different steps need to be followed to prepare a wafer that is obtained from ingots by cutting ingots. Okay, so we will see a different uh, processing steps required for processing or preparing a wafer. Before that, one point is like different orientations of a wafer. Like uh, uh, we have considered, there are different type of orientations of atoms of a crystal is basically considered here. So one of the orientation is represented in terms of 100. Okay, so this orientation is basically referred to as like different atoms are placed. So suppose these are different atoms of silicon or any uh, element is there. Okay, so what type of placement of these atoms will be there, that will decide the orientation of the uh, and say the crystal of that element. Okay, so different orientations will be there. Based on that, a complete uh, placement of elements, single crystal elements will be there, that will be forming a wafer basically. Okay. So a wafer made up of silicon will be having different silicon atoms. Okay, so in what orientation, in what manner these atoms are placed, these are called the orientations. Okay, so here 100 orientation is there, and another one is 111 orientation. Okay, so what happens in the complete wafer? This is a wafer, in that different silicon atoms are being placed. So into that, it is uh, considered for fabrication. Like if we are having a BJT, okay, a bipolar transistor is there, then these BJTs are preferred to be oriented in 111 direction. Okay, so there are some advantages and disadvantages of these orientations. And in case of these MOS devices, the orientation is basically placed in 100 direction. Okay, so this orientation, as I've explained in the previous class, so it is like suppose uh, a single atom we have considered. Okay, this is there. So in case of single, uh, this 111 refers like from origin we will be taking x in one unit, y. So suppose this is x, this is y, and this is z coordinates. Okay, so in x direction we will be considering 1. In y direction also we will be considering 1. So once going to 1 unit, we will be going 1 unit in y direction and 1 unit in z direction. So it will be somewhat here at this edge where these three lines are meeting. Okay, so this is the point. So from origin to this we will be connecting, that will be your 111 orientation. Similarly, if we consider 100, okay, so we'll see. So here 100 orientation, that will be 1 unit in x direction. This will be here. Then 0 unit in y. So 0 unit means here only, and 0 unit in z means this will be here only. So this from origin to this point we will be connecting it, and this will be the direction or the orientation of the uh, atoms present in that crystal. Okay, so this type of orientations are there. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of these orientations. Basically, in case of 111 planes, here it is having the highest density. Okay, so in case of 111 we will be finding out highest number of density, okay, on the surface. So the crystals grow most easily on these planes, and oxidation occurs at higher pace when compared to other crystal planes. So in case of 111, as it is having higher density, so higher density means the placement of the atoms are very close. Okay, so this type of placement are there, higher number of atoms are there, so it will be having higher surface area. So having higher surface area, that means while performing the oxidation process, it will be occurring at a greater rate, because it is having higher density, so it will be providing higher surface area. So the oxidation process will be occurring at a higher pace compared to other orientations. Like in other orientations, suppose 100 orientation is there, into that there will be less number of atoms present, so less surface area will be there, so the oxidation process will be slow. Okay, the real crystals are imperfect and contain point defect. Generally, there are the crystals are there. So once we are preparing a crystal, okay, a wafer that is made up of different type of you can say crystals of silicon or different element. So that obtaining wafer is a very tedious process. So into that there may be different imperfections. Okay, so generally the crystals are imperfect because of different type of defects present there. Okay, so that imperfection is basically because of the point defect or because of line defect, or these line defects are also called dislocations. Okay, and area and volume defects. Okay, so these are the different defects that can occur while obtaining a wafer from polysilicon, polycrystalline silicon or polycrystalline crystal of any element. So basically, this process takes different steps. So it will be having some imperfections. We will see that later. Okay. So the same lattice orientation basically refers to the organized pattern of silicon crystals, because here we are basically considering only silicon for obtaining the wafer. So here uh, the definition is written in terms of silicon only. Okay, so the lattice orientation refers to the organized pattern of silicon crystals in the wafer and their orientation to the surface. Okay, so how the silicon atoms are organized into a crystal is basically given by their uh, this is given by the lattice orientation. Like what is the lattice orientation of silicon? Okay, so the orientation is obtained based on the orientation of crystal that is placed into the molten silicon bath. So while obtaining the crystal or single crystal silicon, while obtaining this by using FZ and CZ method, we were using a molten polycrystalline. Okay, so a crucible was there. Here a molten polycrystalline silicon was there, and by using a seed we were pulling it out. Okay, so by using a seed we are pulling it out. So this, so the orientation of the silicon atoms onto the you can say the wafer is basically because of the type of this seed crystal that we are using. Okay, so because of what type of seed we are using, there will be different orientations. So based on our requirement, what type of orientation we will be requiring. Like if we are requiring one orientation because we are going to fabricate BJT, then the type of seed, what type of seed we should be using, that is a different one. And similarly, if we are focusing on having a 100 crystal orientation, we will be focusing on different type of seed material, okay, to pull out this molten polycrystalline silicon, so that the orientation will be having a different orientation. In case of the first one, like we are going for BJT fabrication, another one like we are going for the mass fabrication, okay. So different orientations have different benefits and are used in different type of devices, so like BJT and MOSFET. So now we will go for like how we will be preparing the wafers. So wafer preparation is basically carried out by different type of steps, different type of processes. Okay, so this is like ingot is there. Into that, to obtain a wafer, here what is being done is, here this complete ingot is being cut by a diamond saw. Here, to cut the uh, ingots to obtain a wafer, we will be using a diamond saw. Okay, so this diamond saw will provide a very fine cutting, and it will be very effective because it is the hardest material. Okay, so to obtain such type of uh, thin wafers, we will be requiring the diamond saw. Okay, so once we have cut the saw, sorry, cut the wafer ingot to obtain a wafer, that wafers are stored like CDs. In the previous lectures, we have discussed like wafers are basically look like a CD, compact disc structure. Okay, so these different series like structures in is being placed. So this is the storage of these wafers generally. Okay, so this is the symbolic representation of wafer storage. So the preparation of wafers having different step. So one of the step is wafer lapping. So here in the wafer lapping process, what we will be doing is, suppose an ingot is there, a cylindrical structure is there. Into that we have cut a wafer. Okay. So here, suppose by using diamond saw, by using a blade like blade like structure that will be pointed by a diamond. Okay, so by that we will be cutting it. Once we have cut it, we will be obtaining a compact disc like structure. But once we have obtained this structure, there may be some mechanical defects, like uh, there may be some sign, or the sign of the saw, what diamond saw is there. Once we cut any soft thing, like suppose we are cutting a fruit by using a knife, there is some marks on the mm, uh, obtained whatever we have cut that fruit. Into that there will be some mark of the knife. Okay, so knife blade, knife edge is there. If that edge is having some roughness, there will be some mark on the fruit. So similar to that, once we are cutting the wafers from the ingots, there may be some marks, mechanical marks, okay, that can be arises by using the diamond saw. So to remove this type of marks or on the wafer surfaces, we will be performing a lapping process. So lapping process is like इन हिंदी लाइक उसको हम क्या करते हैं, उसको हम घिसते हैं. ओके, उसको हम क्या करेंगे, स्लाइस करेंगे, उसको हम रोटेट करेंगे, सो दैट जो भी मार्क है वो रिमूव हो जाए. ओके, सो द स्लाइस्ड वेफर्स आर मैकेनिकली लैप्ड. सो मैकेनिकली लैप्ड मींस देयर विल बी सम मैकेनिकल प्रोसेस, वी विल बी लैपिंग इट, लाइक उसको हम घिसेंगे. ठीक है, लाइक होता क्या है, कभी हम फ्लोर जब बनता है, होम्स में हम फ्लोर बनाते हैं, तो फ्लोर में अगर हम अनइवन फ्लोर्स बन गए तो हम उसको घीसते हैं, एक मशीन आती है उससे. ठीक है, तो सेम ऐसे ही उसको हम लैपिंग प्रोसेस बोलते हैं. ठीक है, सो हियर a slice, whatever slice has been cut from the ingots, that is wafer, this wafer can have some mechanical defects, so that can be removed by using the lapping process. Into that we will be using counter rotating lapping machine and aluminum oxide slurry. So aluminum oxide slurry means you can say semi liquid. It is not solid and not liquid, it is semi liquid type of material will be there, that is of aluminum oxide, that is wrapped on the wafer, and that wafer will be lapped. It will be lapped by using the mechanical process. So some rotating, counter rotating surfaces will be there. So this will be basically removing, this flattens the wafer surface and makes them parallel and reduce mechanical defects like saw marking. So whatever saw marking will be there, that can be removed by using lapping process. So one of the process is being used here, like there are, these are the gaps where we will be placing our wafer. Like here the wafers are being placed, so these wafers have been placed, and on the port, on the surface where the wafers have been placed, it is rotating in counterclockwise. Okay, so it is rotating in counterclockwise, but the upper portion of this machine will be rotating in opposite to this direction, that means in the clockwise direction. So in between this we will be placing the slurry of aluminum oxide. Okay, so aluminum oxide slurry will be used in between these two rotations, so that the surface of the wafer can be smoothened or can be made parallel, or you can say can be made even to throughout the wafer. Okay. So this is lapping process. Another process is, once we have done the lapping, another process is wafer etching. So into this wafer etching, so once we have performed the lapping process, there may be some cracks or surface damages present into this wafer, so that can be removed by etching. Okay, so this etching process is done by the solution of nitric acid, okay, or acetic acid, or by using sodium hydroxide. So these are the chemicals that are being used in the etching process of a wafer. Okay, so once we have done this etching, there is another step, like we will be using the acid or any caustic solution to remove a series of high purity reverse osmosis or deionization water bath. Okay, so these two processes will be performed by using acidic solutions. Okay, uh, this whatever acidic solutions, like these acids we have used for etching, so these acids can be removed by using these two methods, like reverse osmosis method or by using deionization water. Deionization, it is generally preferred by calling DI. So deionization water will be used, and this bath to the wafer will remove the acidic content onto the surface of the wafer, that is being um, there after etching. Okay, so this after etching we will be performing a bath by using reverse osmosis or deionization water. So once we have done the etching and we have removed the chemicals that we have used for etching, now we will be doing the wafer polishing. So into the wafer polishing, the wafer polishing is done by a series of chemical and mechanical process. Okay, so there is chemical and mechanical polish process. So it is called CMP. CMP is chemical and mechanical polish. So, okay, so CMP is performed for polishing. Into that, chemical will be used and also mechanical methods will be used. So mechanical method means some rotational system will be there that will be rotating the wafer, and a chemical will be put so that it will be polished. Okay. The wafers are held in a hard ceramic chunk using either a wax bound or vacuum. So it could be by using wax bound or by using vacuum. We will be holding the wafer and polished with the slurry of silica powder. So silica powder, that will be a semi-liquid similar to that aluminum oxide we have used in previous step. So silica powder will be used to just polish our wafer surface, and then after polishing, some wastages will be there, so that wastage will be removed by using the same RO or reverse osmosis, deionization water bath, or sodium hydroxide. So these three can be used to remove the waste materials that is onto the surface of the wafer while performing the polishing. Okay, so once we have done polishing, there will be some waste material that will be removed by using RO or DI water or sodium hydroxide. So after that, we will be doing the wafer cleaning. So this wafer cleaning is done by three different methods, or three different steps are there to clean a wafer. So one of the step of cleaning the wafer is called SC1. So SC1 is SC stands for standard cleaning. This is standard cleaning 1. So the cleaning of wafer is done by 3-step process. The first step is SC1. SC1 solution is used to clean at the first step. Okay, so this SC solution will be ammonia, hydrogen peroxide, and RODI, same reverse osmosis, deionization water, to remove the organic impurities and particles from the wafer surface. Okay, so the first step is by using SC1 solution, we will be removing the organic impurities and the particles from the wafer surface. Whatever particles are attached to the wafer surface, that will be removed by using SC1 solution. The next step will be the natural oxides and metal impurities are removed. So whatever oxides are there and some metal impurities are there, that will be removed by using hydrofluoric acid. Okay, so the first will be SC1 solution, second will be hydrofluoric acid we will be using to remove natural oxides and metal impurities present on the surface of the vapor. The third step is, these are the different steps of vapor cleaning. So the third step, that is final step, is SC2 solution. So similar to SC1 solution, that is standard cleaning 1 solution, this is standard cleaning 2 solution. That it will be consisting of hydrochloric acid and hydrogen peroxide. So hydrochloric acid and hydrogen peroxide combinedly will be used as SC2 solution, and that will cause the super clean of new natural oxides to grow on the surface. So it will be like the final step of cleaning, or we call it a super cleaning. Okay, that that will be cleaning the new natural oxides. So it will be cleaning such that the new natural oxides can be grow on the surface. Like once we are using the wafer, we will be performing different steps onto the wafer. So it should be super cleaned, so that any other depositions of different layers can be done effectively without any defects, or you can say uh, error. Okay. So these are the cleaning. So once we have done the super cleaning, so that means the wafer is ready for further processing. So the further processing step that is used is basically epitaxial growth. Okay, so epitaxial growth means we will be growing different layers onto the silicon wafer. Okay, so the purpose of epitaxial growth is to create a layer with a different, usually lower concentration of electrically active dopant on the substrate. So whatever substrate we have taken, the wafer will be considered as substrate, silicon substrate. So onto that we will be depositing different impurities in terms of doping. Okay, so we'll be doing doping with different impurities to make this substrate either N type or P type. Okay, so this substrate or the wafer itself will be going through epitaxial process. Okay, onto this onto that epitaxial process we will be obtaining N type or P type of wafers. Okay, so this layer is of a much better quality than the slightly damaged or unclean layer of silicon in the wafer. So the wafer that we will be depositing by using the epitaxial method. So into this epitaxial method, whatever layer we will be depositing onto the wafer, that will be of a high quality layer will be there. Okay, because all the processing, all the fabrication steps, further fabrication steps will be performed on the epitaxial growth silicon that is onto the wafer. So whatever epitaxial growth we have done onto the wafer, that place or that section of the wafer will be considered for further processing steps. Okay, so that step or that layer should be much more clean and much more accurate in terms of defects. So there should not be any impurities like. So this step, this is called epitaxial layer. So where all the processings will be taking place, that is called epitaxial layer onto the substrate. So suppose this is the substrate, or you can say wafer. Onto a single wafer there are different chips fabricated. Okay, हम क्या करते हैं, एक वेफर पे हम बहुत सारे चिप्स को फैब्रिकेट करते हैं. तो एक वेफर पे हम डिफरेंट epitaxial growth करते हैं, epitaxial growth करते हैं. So suppose this is the first epitaxial growth. Okay, so that growth should be of much more you can say clean. Okay, much it should be of much better quality. Okay, because all the you can say other further fabrication steps will be performed only this area of the complete wafer. So this should be very accurate and should not be having any defect or any impurity. So it should be of a high quality. So this can be obtained by using the epitaxial growth. So we will be doing epitaxial growth onto the wafer so that we can assign a particular area. Okay, so so this was the epitaxial growth. This is an epitaxial reactor where the different epitaxial growth is being done. So this is a wafer. Onto that, suppose there are different blocks are there. So these blocks are like epitaxial growth regions where further processing of the IC fabrication will be taking place. These are the reactors where this epitaxial growth is basically done. So the next is crystal defects. Okay, so into this crystal defect, there are different type of crystal defects are there. Okay, so first one is a point defect, another one is line defect, next is area, and we also call it planar defects. Another one is volume defect. Okay, so we will go with one by one the different crystal defects available onto the wafer. So point defects. So suppose a crystal structure is there. Okay, onto this crystal structure, different silicon atoms are there. Okay, so these are different silicon atoms. Into this point defect, it is the introduction of any non-silicon atom onto the lattice. So this is the lattice. In this, there should be only the silicon atom because it is a silicon lattice. Okay, so onto that there will be only silicon atoms, but there may be some defects like instead of silicon, there may be some other element is there. Some other element is there into this crystal. So this type of defect is called substantial defect, or you can say substantial atom into silicon crystal. What is, instead of silicon we have replaced the silicon and there is some another impurity in place of silicon. So this will be called substantial you can say defect. Okay, so substantial defect. Okay, similarly if instead of here suppose all the silicon atoms are placed at their location, but there is some extra atom or extra impurity, and this extra impurity outside the crystal location, so where the crystals silicon crystals should be, silicon atoms will be there into the crystal, into this space, another impurity is present. So this is called interstitial location or interstitial defect. Okay, so one is substantial, that will be replacing the silicon atom, and another instead of silicon, some other element will be there instead of at the place of silicon. So that is called substantial site or substantial location. Another one is interstitial. So in between the silicon, whatever gaps are there, in between that gaps, if there are some element or impurities present, that will be called interstitial defect. Okay. Also, some another type of point defect is Schottky defect. So into a Schottky defect, what there? Okay. So in case of Schottky defect, what will be there like? Uh, the missing atoms create a vacancy into the lattice is called Schottky defect, which is also considered as the point defect. So here in the figure, like this is the Schottky. So in the Schottky defect, in the Schottky defect, what will be there? In the Schottky defect is the location where no atom is present. So here there should be a silicon atom, but there is no atom present. That means there is a vacancy. So if there is a vacancy, this vacancy defect is called Schottky defect. Okay. Another one is Frankel defect. So a silicon atom in an interstitial lattice site with an associated vacancy is called a Frankel defect. So in the Frankel defect, here is like instead of silicon here, it is placed into the interstitial site. So interstitial site is the location where the silicon atom should be there. So other than the silicon atom location, that is called the interstitial space site. So this interstitial site, so silicon atom has been removed from their position and it is present into the interstitial space. So this is defect called Frankel defect. Okay. So into the point defect, we will be basically considering substantial or interstitial locations. So defect can be present either at the substantial location or at the interstitial location or sites, substantial site or interstitial sites. So if at the substantial site there is no silicon atom, that defect will be called Schottky defect. In case of Frankel defect, if a silicon atom has been removed from their location, the position, and it is present into the interstitial space, that will be called a Frankel defect. Okay. And next one is line defects. So these line defects are basically these are like dislocations. So there are different dislocations are there. So this dislocations means movement of the silicon atom from one location to another location. So these dislocations can be of two types. Okay, like screw and line or edge dislocations. So in the line dislocations, these are called line defects or line dislocations. An extra plane of atom AB inserted into the lattice. So we'll see into this. So this is the figure. So here, so this is like A point and this is B point. So this was the regular location of the silicon atom into the lattice. Okay, so this is the regular structure. But instead of regular, there are three atoms forming a line A and B is being inserted in between the crystal silicon atoms. So this insertion of an extra silicon atom line is called a line defects. Okay, so the line defects into the line defects, an extra plane of atoms like AB inserted into the lattice. So into the lattice, an extra plane will be inserted into the lattice basically. So the line of dislocation would be perpendicular to the plane of the page. So like this is the dislocation. So here, if we see into the three-dimensional structure, so instead of 4, further it has become 3 lines only. So the dislocation plane will be the perpendicular of this perpendicular to this page basically. So once we will be considering in 3 dimension, it will be this direction perpendicular to the plane. Okay, whatever page we are seeing, onto that the perpendicular of that page will be giving you out the direction of dislocation, basically the line dislocation. Dislocations in a lattice are dynamic defects. So dislocations are basically in dynamic nature. That means they can move under applied stress. If there is some stress to the crystal, this the dislocations can be taking place, and also disassociation into 2 or more dislocations. So what happens if 2 dislocations are there? They can be attached to one another. If one is moving, another one will be moving. So this is like that's why it is called a dynamic defect. So somehow like one dislocation is here. Okay, so after applying some stress, there may be like the dislocations have been moved. Okay, or it is associated with some other atom, and this has association with some other. Okay, so there can be some disassociation. This can remove from here and can combine with another atom to form the dislocation, or more dislocations, or can combine with other dislocations. So 2 can combine. Suppose one is here and one is here. We have applied the stress. It is like after the stress, these 2 have combined and come together. Okay, so these are like they can these dislocations are basically not fixed at a particular crystal location. It can be moving based on the stress applied to the crystal. Next one is screw defects. So here in the crystals, the crystals for IC uses are generally grown free of edge dislocations. Generally, we prefer like there should not be any edge dislocations, but may contain small dislocation loops from excess point defect condensation. So because of the presence of point defects, there may be some edge dislocations available, because suppose in point defect there is Frenkel defect, like the crystal atom has been moved from their position to the interstitial space. So that interstitial space will be making some dislocations onto the crystal, so that can create either line or screw defect. Okay. These defects act as nuclei for the precipitation of impurities. So these defects, like these point defects present in the crystal, can you can say act as a nuclei, or for while obtaining the single crystal silicon, we have seen like by using CZ and FZ method, there were some uh, dislocations, or there were some impurities added to the process, like oxygen impurities. So that oxygen impurities will be trapped onto the crystal structure at the locations where these dislocations have been taking place, or if there is some point defect, there will be some space created into the surface or onto the crystal. So that crystal will be having some space. So and in that space, some oxygen impurities can be trapped. So this vacant space, like Schottky defect or Frenkel defect, can be a source of impurity trap. Okay, so oxygen impurities can be trapped onto that defect. So they can change the behavior of the crystal itself. Okay, so we should be avoiding like the process we are considering the steps that should not be having any point defect, as these point defects can uh, attract some dislocations into the crystal. The edge type of dislocations are basically introduced by thermal stress. If thermal stress is there on the wafer during the process, there can be some dislocations, edge dislocations can be there, or because of the introduction of excessive concentration of impurity atoms. If excessive concentration of impurity atoms are present into the crystal, that can be making the edge type of dislocations. Okay. Generally, the dislocations in a device are undesirable. We are, as a designer or the fabrication lab, they don't basically attract any dislocations onto the crystal, but uh, there may be some defects available, like point defect that can attract some impurities and can have some dislocations. So these devices dislocations should not be obtained. It is an undesirable, you can say, process, as they act as sink for metallic impurities and alter the diffusion profile. So because if dislocations are there may be some extra impurities can be placed at that dislocations. So these dislocations can change the you can say property of the crystal that we are using for IC fabrication. So these dislocations should be uh, removed or should be avoided while going through different processing steps. We have just seen different processing steps. So these dislocations should be avoided. So the next two defects are there, area and volume defects. We will see into the next class.